here at this point in time, it'd be nice to know how much DPS you're actually doing, because I'm fairly positive that a lot of people are horrible at their job right now because they don't know what their rotation is with the new spells and whatnot. So people are experimenting, which is all good, but you do notice a difference in quality. Some players just seem to shred mobs right and left, and other players just don't seem to be carrying their weight. Even without recount, you can kind of tell. In the latest build, they actually broke the combat text, so you can't even see how much your spells are hitting for anymore, so yeah. Now what we're doing here is we're LOSing these groups of mobs behind these pillars, and they work out quite well. And just AoE them down. And more big guys. Okay, so we run down this corridor. There's going to be one more big guy, and then you're going to see a crap ton of mobs standing on the bridge. And your first, I guess your first gut feeling is, oh god, we're going to die. This is terrible. But luckily the big guy jumps down and he starts going rah, 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 beating the crap out of these guys. So love him for all it's worth. Throw him a big hug. Okay, this boss. When you first walk in, you're like, oh god, what's going on? I don't know, there's some fire elementals and some little elementals, and I don't know, maybe we should do something with those fire elementals. Well, you should. Here's what happens. You pull the fire elementals one at a time, and you pull them back across this bridge and basically kite them as they go, because the smaller fire elementals will stay active if they are in front of the fire elemental. When they're behind it and far enough away, they turn back into these lifeless oozes on the ground, which is what you want. So you've got to keep kiting them. If you keep them in place, you start taking a fire stacking debuff, which increases fire damage taken, and you'll eventually get a wipe. So just kite them back, DPS them down, and you're good to go. Then you run back to the boss. And there's some kind of lava crap in the middle, which is probably very important. So what happens is he has a buff on him that basically reduces damage taken. So with this buff on, you're not going to dent him. What the tank has to do is basically pull him through the middle and back out. When he pulls him out, he does a AoE, depending on how many stacks he has taken while in the fire. So if you pull him into the fire, you start noticing his stack count going up. 3 to 4 stacks is probably the most you want. If you've got a really good AoE healer, you can go up to 8 stacks, but it's not recommended because the AoE that he does after that is proportional to how many stacks he had while in the fire. So all you really have to do is just pull him through real quick, just to take off his buff, and then you can damage him. Other than that, it's a pretty easy tank and spank fight. Just stay at max range and you're good to go. There's not much to it. Now the more stacks he actually has while in the fire will actually increase the amount of damage he takes. So for example, if you keep him in there for 3 stacks, then you will do 30% damage. If you keep him there for 5 stacks, you'll do 50% damage. If you keep him in there for 8 stacks, you will do 80% damage. So the longer you keep him in there, the more buffs he has, the faster you can kill this boss. But the more likely you are of dying to the AoE that he does. So we just run him through for a couple stacks, and that's plenty fine. It takes a little bit longer to kill him, but it's on the safe side. fun. That's what we like to see. Alright, so these pulls here are rather simple, but you do have these two rock elementals right there. Those earth elementals, they do a meteor, just like the trash in Black Temple. So you do have to stack. Otherwise, if you stand out by yourself, you have a chance of dying if you get double meteor. If you just take one, it's probably going to take about 3/4 of your health away. So you've got to be really careful not to wander off too far. And if you notice this mage, he's standing over here on the left by himself. Not too much fun. Right, so we kill these guys, we sneak our way past the mobs on the right. We're on this little corner, and we gotta kill these guys. And Power Word Barrier comes in really handy to mitigate the initial damage that you're taking from these guys. On the right hand side, where we're going now, we'll find Beauty, which is a nice little corehound with 3 little corehound pups. Just pull the corehounds one at a time, DPS them down. Not a big deal. And at this point in time, I still haven't used Free Ward for whatever reason. I'm not really sure why. But So we kill these 3 pups, and Beauty is basically a sort of tank and spank fight. Doesn't do anything dramatic. He does fear, he has a charge, and that's about it. Maybe a little bit of lava. But for the most part, he's just a giant fun dog to kill. Nothing too extreme. Now he was bugged at one point in time. So the tank would run in and basically get one shot immediately. He would hit me for about 114,000 damage. And I guess they fixed that. Interrupted. Sorry, Pally. I'm pretty sure you can fall into the lava there. I haven't tried it, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's probably also not a good idea to stand near the edges, so when he does do his interrupt and knockback, you don't get knocked into the lava. That is quite annoying. Okay, so this guy's out of the way. That means one more boss who is just around the corner. Unfortunately, he is the most difficult boss that I've encountered so far, just because of the mechanics of the encounter. Now this is like our 6th attempt with like 8 different million people. Usually every time I've done this, I've had a hunter in the group that was able to kite. The thing is, you've got the boss and you've got 2 small ads, and what happens is the 2 small ads will basically focus on whoever looked at them funny last. So if one of the ads is on you, you have a 99% healing debuff on you, which means you will receive 99% less healing, which essentially means you're not getting any heals. So the idea of the fight is to have 2 people kite the ads around while you DPS the boss. And the tank is responsible for taunting them back, basically. So the ads are on the tank. Tank's not getting any healing, but people that are kiting are getting healed. Then the tank basically just focuses on the boss. The kiters basically focus on the smaller ads and get aggro on them. So now I can heal the tank, but I can't heal the kiters. So then the kiters have to basically DPS the boss and hope that the tank taunts them back. So you're constantly bouncing aggro between the tank and the kiters, so that way I can heal whoever doesn't have the mob on them. Now the downside is he does an AoE thunderclap, which reduces your speed by 35%, which is not very fun when you're kiting, and we don't have an Earthbind totem, and we don't have a hunter for frost traps. So we unfortunately did not get very far. Like I said, this is probably our 6th attempt trying this, and we've tried different strats. Using army in the beginning seems to be a fairly effective strat, since they just go batshit crazy on pretty much everything. But keeping people up during this encounter is incredibly difficult if they're being hit by the ads, because you're constantly overhealing those people, hoping that, you know, aggro will shift. And we had to use, I believe, let's see, I used my Shadow Fiend, then there was Divine Hymn of Hope. I think the other priest used his cooldowns as well, and we still ran out of mana at the end. It's a very, very mana-intensive fight if you don't have the proper kiting mechanics, I say. So I wish I could have showed you a kill, but this is as good as it's going to get, and I believe we got him down to like 200k or something like that before we called it quits and gave up for this attempt. He also changes bodies with one of his ads, so you need to basically keep an eye out for that too, and work quickly. But it definitely does make it easier if you have the correct group composition. I know Blizzard is shying away from that. You should be able to do this encounter without having specific classes like hunters or shaman or whatnot. In this case, we had the mage who could slow things, and we had a shadow priest who unfortunately had no real defensive mechanisms except for maybe fade and you know, prayer of mending himself. But that was it. Well, in any case, you're going to need some teamwork in order to be able to get this boss down. So hopefully you run this instance with people who aren't complete dingbats and understand the concept of bouncing aggro back and forth between the ads and being able to kite them without being constantly hit. Nevertheless, it's a fun instance, and you should definitely give it a try if you get the chance. So thanks for watching, and good luck to you.